Hey everybody, it's Rob from joeaday.com back with another video review. Today it's the Sigma 6 Firebat Jet. And you say, wait, they did vehicles for Sigma 6? Well, they did. They did the small mission scale series, which were 2.5-inch scale figures. So instead of the style of GI Joes like this size, you had little figures like this. And in this scale, most of them, well, some of them were pre-posed. Some of them have moving joints, like this little Skybat here, which came with the set, by the way. He just has one little movable arm. Well, I take that back. Both of them move, but really it's hindered by the fact he's got this explosion-y red thingy of stuff, fire, coming off of his hand. Anyway, those things were included in most of the sets. Also included was a driver, who bears a pretty strong resemblance to the Cobra Troopers from the show, which we really didn't get in the large scale, other than a disguise that Lieutenant Stone came with. But this is an interesting figure. It's got movable arms, like 5 points of articulation. Oh my god, 5 points of articulation, GI Joe. How could that possibly happen in a Retaliation movie? Well, actually it happened before that in Sigma 6, kids. Check it out. Anyway, moving on. The Firebat Jet has red, a lot of red on it. It's got some red panel lines, and it's got some red cockpit glass. And this red glass back here, which I have no earthly idea what this does or what it's for, but it looks cool. That's pretty cool. The whole styling of this thing, to me, has kind of an anime style to it. I even kind of dig the little Cobra logo on the back. Look at that. That's pretty snazzy right there. Yeah, Sigma 6 was cool. You know, the design was cool. It's just the scale was just kind of you know, it didn't really work with GI Joe as we knew it. Speaking of that, back at the time, a lot of collectors and customizers especially were trying to get these guys, we're trying to get the old figures to shoehorn into these vehicles. In some cases it really worked, like the Dragonhawk and maybe some of the mechs, I think. But in this case, it really doesn't. I mean, if you stick a figure in there, even an old figure from the 80s, it just doesn't go. I mean, it's just too small. The cockpit is just too narrow to fit in there. Some of the, like I said, some of the vehicles it worked, but this one, not a chance. You can see anyway, just the scale is all crazy. It's off. It's way off. It's just not going to work. Despite that fact, it's still a fun toy. It splits into 3 parts. This piece here comes off, unplugs, and then you've got this piece, and then the little pod thingy on the back does too, but it really doesn't amount to much, and it's really not all that much of an action feature. Again, these little VTOL jets kind of spin around and gives it an interesting look. Kind of like is it the VF-22, the Raptor or something? It's kind of got that backwards wing set up there. You can do that. That's kind of interesting. It's got missiles. It's got a couple of missiles on it. They don't fire. They just kind of sit there. But it's a fun design, and it's really well made and really sturdy, like much of the 2000s stuff was. And it's so much less clunky than that 2000 stuff. And it's really unfortunate that this thing wasn't in a larger scale, in the scale it fit with the regular figures. Speaking of which, I got something else here. What is that? Well, it looks similar to the Sigma 6 Firebat, but it was available in Christmas a few years, I think around that time, at Target, Walmart, I think. Those cheap blue boxed toy sets that you'd see that sometimes had Chat May stuff in them. I don't know if this is a Chat May vehicle or not, but it's really interesting looking. It looks a lot like it. I mean, it's got a lot of the similar design cues. It's not exactly the same. It's got 2 cockpits, second cockpit here in the back. It's got sounds. I don't want to push both of them because this one right here is really annoying and goes for like an hour and a half. Anyway, it's got that. You know, you gotta have lights and sound, or at least sound. I guess there's no lights. Anyway, it does have a big bomb on it. It's got the it's got a couple of landing gear, a large cannon in the front. So it's pretty similar in look, you know. I can see how they were, you know, knocking it off. I love the knockoffs, especially when you take something that didn't come in the GI Joe scale and make it. So it worked out. Hey, it worked out to our advantage. Pretty cool looking. Don't really have room on camera to put them both together here, but maybe I can squeeze them in. You can kind of see the similarities there. This thing would be pretty cool if it's repainted. I've seen it on Joe Customs and a couple other places repainted. Some people did some cool customizing with it, but I wanted to show that just because it's like, I wish they did it in Joe scale. Well, hey, somebody else did. Whoop. So yeah, the Sigma 6 Firebat, it's a cool looking vehicle. I think if you just display it, just hang it up on the ceiling or wherever you display your jets and stuff, You know, don't stress too much on the fact that it's not to Joe scale. If you can just look at it and appreciate it for what it does and just sits there and looks cool, you know, you can dig it. I like it. Anyway, this is Rob from Joe A Day, signing off with some more video reviews coming soon. Trying to do more of these things, maybe. If you guys dig them, if you don't dig them, hey, I at least need a title for these things, you know, something snazzy. So if you send in something, I use it, maybe we get a Joe A Day no prize, you know. Maybe that'll happen. So I'm also having a hard time ending these things, as you can tell, right? How do you end this thing? I don't know. Maybe I should watch more reviews. Anyway, Rob from Joe A Day, signing off. Sigma 6 Firebat. Check it out. It's cool.